Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
I want to introduce myself for the record and for individuals that may not know me. I am Jesus Nino, the Executive Director for the city's Community Redevelopment Agency, which has two areas, downtown and the North Greenwood Community Development Area. With that, what we'll do our introductions, then for now, staff will be running the meeting until we get to the portion where we elect a chair and a vice chair. And once that chair and vice chair is selected, then we turn it over to the chair to run the meeting. And then today's mostly about introduction to what CRAs are, North Greenwood's CRA, and the policies and rules that you basically will follow through your journey. So,
good afternoon. Ann Lopez. I am the Assistant Director for the Clearwater Community Redevelopment Agency.
Hi, my name is Julia Baltes. I am CRA Specialist.
go ahead.
Hello everyone, my name is Kennard Robinson.
I'm Marilyn Turman with Clearwater Urban Leadership Coalition as well.
I'm Brian Volaton.
I'm Kimberly Nunn Crawford, representing the Willa Carson Health and Wellness Center.
I'm Patrick McKinney.
Before we get to the last person over here, we do have a quorum, so.
Hello, I'm Tasha Hatley. We're a CRA Specialist.
The next steps, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Ann Lopez to run you through the election of the nominations and elections of a chair and a vice chair. We're using the Robert's Rule of Order. In this case, we're using the ballot process so that you basically are anonymous as you're voting, or nominating and voting. And individuals that are nominated, you have the option to accept that nomination or to decline that nomination. But Ann will go through the script that she has, and we'll go through it from there, one at a time, chair, then vice chair.
So the first officer that we will appoint will be the North Greenwood Citizens Advisory Committee Chair. The duties of the chair shall be to have the authority to decide points of order and run agendas for all meetings. Any ruling by the chair may be reserved by majority vote of the CAC. The chair shall preserve order and may call to order any member who violates any of the rules and shall decide all questions of order subject to a majority vote on a motion to appeal. The chair shall recognize all members who seek the floor under correct procedure and shall not make or second any motion. The chair shall maintain an effective working relationship with the CRA director or designated liaison who represents their area. The chair shall guide the CAC in its advisement of community needs consistent with the North Greenwood CRA plan, state law to the CRA director or designee, the CRA trustees, and the city as appropriate. From time to time, the chair or CAC approved designee shall be required to report updates to the CRA trustees or city council. The duties of chair are outlined in your North Greenwood CRA policy, which we will discuss later. So the first item that will be handed out to you will be a ballot for you to select nominees for the position of chair for this board. This is a blind election process, so once you have made your selections, if you please fold it and then staff will collect those.
All of you have the names of all the CAC members before you there, right?
Yes, yeah, their names are on the So the nominations for chair have been collected and counted, and the nominees are Kennard Robinson and Marilyn Turman. So at this time, what we would need is to approval from the two nominees that you accept your nomination, and then we will do the next step, which is cast a ballot. So, Kennard, do you accept your
Yep.
nomination? Marilyn?
Not for chair.
Not for chair?
Mhm.
Okay.
You're declining the
Declining,
nomination?
Yes.
declining the nomination for chair.
Okay, so now we will pass out the ballot form. And then you'll just write the name of who you would like to be.
When you're doing the election, you do have a nominee, but you're not bound by just a nominee. All the individuals that are eligible for this CAC can be voted upon, just for the record, it's in the guidelines here.
Are there your names listed somewhere?
They're in your binder.
Oh, thank
I
you.
did the same
Oh,
thing.
thank you. Okay.
I know this is
Yeah.
on my first day.
Thank you so much.
And majority vote has our chair selected as Kennard Robinson.
Congratulations.
Okay, so now we will do essentially the same thing. This will be for the role of vice chair. And the vice chair will hold all of the duties that were mentioned earlier in absence of the chair. So should we have a meeting and Mr. Robinson not be able to attend, the vice chair would then step in to oversee the North Greenwood CAC meetings and items that were listed previously. So we'll do the same process and pass you ballots to select 4 nominees. We have 2 nominations for the role of vice chair, and those are Kimberly Nunn Crawford and Miss Marilyn Turman. Do you accept the nomination for vice chair, Ms. Turman?
Yes. I decline.
Okay.
Thank you,
Yep.
respectfully.
So Ms. Nunn Crawford declines, and then Ms. Turman accepts. So now we will have a ballot to select your vice chair.
Again, for the record, even though you do have a nominee, the individual nominated for the actual election, the vote, all members of the CAC are eligible for a vote.
Ballots have been validated. The votes for vice chair are Miss Marilyn Turman.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
What we're going to do now is we're going to turn it over to the chair to continue with the agenda. We do ask that, before I turn it over, that it only be, before you speak, to be recognized by the chair. That's the rules usually in Robert's Rule of Order. And that's just a respectful thing to do. He will keep order of the meeting. He will keep order of basically the agenda and so forth. So it's turned over to you, Mr. Chair.
Awesome. Thank you very much. So the next the next item of business is the review of the Sunshine Law.
We won't spend a lot of time on the Sunshine Law, and this would be something that Ann and myself will do. So I'll let her kind of read through what she has.
The CAC shall operate in the sunshine in accordance with Florida Statute Chapter 286. This was discussed with each one of you during your orientation. Operating in the sunshine means, among other things, that when there are meetings, workshops, informal discussions, telephone conversations, and other forms of communicating involving two or more members of the CAC regarding any proposed recommendations by the CAC to the CRA trustees, that any matter which may be considered by the CAC, that 1, those meetings, workshops, discussions, and conversations must be open to the public. 2, a reasonable notice of the meeting, workshop, discussion, or conversation must be given in advance to the public. And 3, that minutes of those meetings, workshops, discussions, or conversations must be taken by a CRA staff member or designee and retained as public record. In addition to the minutes, all documents, papers, letters, maps, books, tapes, photographs, films, sound recording, data processing software, and other material, regardless of the physical form, characteristics, or means of transportation, including emails and texts, made or received by a CAC member in connection with the conduct of business by the CAC, is considered public record and is subject to Florida Public Laws, Chapter 119 of the Florida State Statute. What we have provided in the agenda item, and it was also provided in your CAC binder, is an overview of the Sunshine Law as provided by the City of Clearwater's attorney, David Margolis. One of the things that we did mention to each one of you is that it is beneficial to have an email address that is specific for the role that you now serve as a CAC member. So if you have that, please make sure that you share that with staff. That would be our means of communication with you. If you have not created one, we ask that you do create one. It just makes things a little bit easier when we're trying to communicate with you, providing you agenda items or any other important information as it relates to your role here on the CAC.
And I do want to add a little bit, just to protect yourselves, make sure that you're not emailing each other or anything like that. If you want to get a message to another CAC member, you have to always go through the liaison, who is Vicki Shire. She's out right now, so the liaison will be appointed as Julia. You can copy any of us if you wish, and then we'll spread that message out to the rest of the CAC members. So do not send emails to each other. Do not, if someone does send emails copying you, don't respond if it has to do with any business that's coming before you, any business of the CRA. Now, you're grown individuals, so you're allowed to be friends, you're allowed to go to parties together, do whatever you got to do. And in good faith, we're hoping that you stick to the law and don't discuss business when you're together at dinner or at family gatherings or friend gatherings or whatever it may be. Same thing with text, anything like that. It's all under the public law. So if someone did subpoena your records, then literally you would have to probably get your own attorney to help you with certain things. We would protect you as much as possible from what we can, but just set that separate email up, Gmail, whatever it may be, and communicate through us to spread the word. Be recognized by the chair.
You have a question?
Yes, I do. So my question relative, for instance, for an example, upcoming events. I send mass emails to people regarding upcoming events having nothing to do with this committee. Is that okay, as long as I'm doing it
as usual for anything that doesn't
outside of this, as long as it's wonderful? So to make sure.
If you have a question on something, if you think there may be a conflict, or just ask the question, we'll let you know.
Okay.
Sometimes we may get back to you because we may have to ask our attorney about it. But most of the time, if it's not coming before this body, do your thing.
No, I have a question as well.
Yes, sir.
So will there ever be a situation where, so I know we're gonna discuss later on in the meeting, cadence of meetings, that's like when we're going to meet, correct? Will there ever be a situation where we might need to call an emergency meeting or a meeting outside of that schedule? And if so, like what's the notification time to the community in order to,
So we have a policy discussion on the agenda.
okay,
We'll go through that at that time. But if you do require a special meeting or requested a special meeting for, and we'll go through the training.
Okay.
For items in our community development plan, if it's just to discuss something that's outside of your purview, we're gonna say no. And you go do what you gotta do because it's not even part of the CAC.
Okay, sounds good. Any other questions? All right, seeing none, moving on to the next item. We are going to review the North Greenwood Citizens Advisory Committee policy. Wait, nope, I'm sorry, I skipped something. Overview of the Community Redevelopment Agency.
So as far as this, I'm not gonna stick too long on it, but I do wanna make sure that you do have a good overview of what CRAs mean. And we do want to see if we can schedule a separate CRA 101 training for not only the CAC, but also for the community, so you can understand. So basically, community redevelopment agencies, they're governed under Florida's Chapter 163, Part 3. That's called the Florida Community Redevelopment Act of 1969. That one is when it was created. So as a result of that act being created, what happened is that communities, municipalities throughout the state of Florida, they can define certain geographic boundaries within their municipal boundaries, which might be county or city. And then that boundary is called a community redevelopment area. And then from there, there's there's a whole process, and I'm not gonna go through the process how you create it, but it's a blight study. You kind of already went through that when you created the North Greenwood Community Redevelopment Area. But there has to be an agency in place. That agency is a community redevelopment agency. It usually has a governing body, pretty much all of them do. The governing body here is the city of Clearwater. So the city of Clearwater, the governing body, created that agency, which is actually a separate entity from the city. So the agency is separate and the city is separate. City council governs the city. City council declared themselves as the board of directors for the community development agency whenever they created the agency, 1980 something, 81 or something. They call themselves here the CRA trustees, but they're board of directors for the organization, which is community development agency. Under that agency, you can have several redevelopment areas. Clearwater, we have two. Downtown Community Redevelopment Area and North Greenwood Community Redevelopment Area. You've also heard of the Downtown Development Board. That's a third agency, third entity that has its own geographic boundaries and its own funding mechanism. Then City Council also sits as that board of directors for that organization. I'm the executive director for both of those organizations. We're city staff, but we have an interlocal agreement with the city and the community development agency that city staff will basically do the work for the agency. So right now, you're a citizens advisory committee for the community redevelopment agency, not for the city of Clearwater. So you're providing recommendations to the agency, not Clearwater. So each community redevelopment area has a funding mechanism. We use a model called tax increment finance. I won't go through all the details on how TIF works, but basically what it means that you have a base year, year zero basically, when you create the community development area. All of the values, the property values within that geographic boundaries, the taxable property values, that's your base year, your frozen year. So from there, as we start making improvements in the community, that starts to grow. The taxable value starts to grow within that community. That's called what we call an increment. That increment funds we put into a trust fund for your area, and those funds cannot be spent anywhere outside of that geographic boundary at all. Not one penny, not 1 inch outside of your boundary, that has to be spent within that community. When you get your bill for your tax bill for your property bill, you see a whole list of millage rates. The only millages that are basically where the increment comes out of is the county and the city. The rest of it keeps going when it goes to library and so that increment gets all invested into your area. For the first few years, sometimes there is no increment. But in this case, North Greenwood, we were lucky enough that there was ARPA funds, so those funds were basically given to the CRA over here as seed money. So that has a lot of flexibility in how that money is used. But as you're going to find out, there's a lot of restrictions on how you use that increment funds once you start to build it up. And one thing I do want to stress too, that those redevelopment agencies are not social service. We may partner for whatever it may be, but we don't, agencies throughout Florida, they're not allowed by statutory law basically to do social services. We know that to combat slum and blight, the root causes of issues in communities, there's many roots out there. Some might be family dynamics, some might be different things in the community. I mean, education, you name it. There's so many things that work together in synergy to improve communities or that work together as syndemics to make communities worse. But we do our part in the Community Redevelopment Agency, and under Chapter 163.387.6, that lists basically what CRAs can do. It basically, you're relegated to mostly physical construction, affordable housing, and community policing innovations. So basically to stop deterioration further of infrastructure, roads, buildings, you name it. And the reason for that is because historically, communities that are distressed, redlining, all sorts of good stuff, the investment was going somewhere else. So this was a mechanism that was created to help bring that funding back into your community. Again, mostly construction, and in 2019 they made it even stricter. Before then they had words that said you can do the following but not really limited to it. 2019 they said you can do the following. They took out the but not limited to, they said you can, and added the word only, you can only do the following. So that made it way more strict. So we can be as creative as we want within the law. So there's three things that you have to abide by. One is it has to be in Chapter 163, Part 3. That's the law, state law. Second one, it has to be in your community redevelopment area plan. If it's not in your plan, you can't do it. So even if it's in the statute, but not in your plan, you can't do it. It has to be in your plan. Then the third thing, it has to be in your budget. The budget, if you have the funding, is the easier part because you can move things around. Your plan, if it's not in there, you can change it. It's pretty tough to change it, but you can change it. The statute, good luck with that unless you're some kind of good lobbyist. But in your plan, all of you should have a copy of it. If not, we'll get you a copy of it. It's also online. We're trying to be as electronic as possible. Also being respectful of the individuals that need physical copies, we'll get you that as well. So that, in a nutshell, are community redevelopment areas. And I can literally go on for hours on each section, but I won't do that. This is just a high-level overview. As the Florida Redevelopment Association conference is happening in October. What I'll do is I'll get their CRA 101 presentations and email them all to you. Basically, high-level, quick bullet points on what CRAs are. So I'll open it for questions.
I do have a couple of questions. So question number one, I see the CRA statute in our binder, right? So where exactly the list that you're referring to as far as what can be done with CRA funds?
163.387.6.
So it's in their orientation binder that they will provide.
It's behind, sorry, behind 7. Page on 7.
With his
About this.
You said 387?
163.387.6.
You see it?
I'll read 6 for you. Effective October 1st, 2019, monies from the redevelopment trust fund may be expended for undertakings of the community redevelopment agency as described in the community redevelopment plan. So that's your plan. And only pursuant to an annual budget adopted by the Board of Commissioners, which is the Board of Directors or trustees here, of the community development agency, and only for the purposes specified in paragraph C. If you go down to paragraph C there, it gives you that list.
Annual budget of community redevelopment. Okay, I see it here.
Then that list at the end, when it ends, it also takes you over to 163.370, which gives you a little bit more on what you can do. And this is just the state statute. Realize there's also a lot of case law out there. There's also a lot of attorney general opinions, auditor general opinions, you name it, on redevelopment areas. For instance, Attorney General Opinion 2010-40, where they talk about special events, where they prohibit special events. Before that, it was kind of on seesaw, but then in 2019, when they took out that "but not limited to" and added the words "only," CRAs are no longer allowed to do special events or sponsor special events. Plus, that Attorney General Opinion 2010-40 also basically spelled out that we cannot sponsor or provide operational funding for not-for-profits. I also sit in the board of directors, by the way, for the state of Florida, that I also sit on their technical committee as far as I'm one of the 5 experts around state of Florida.
All right, cool. And you said that there's a conference in Orlando or
There's
not
a
in
conference
October?
in Tampa, yes.
Is that something that if we wanted to, that we could attend?
Anyone can attend it.
Okay. Could you send that information out to us? Awesome, thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none? All right, moving on to the next item, 3.5, review the North Greenwood Citizens Advisory Committee policy.
So are you governed by state, statute, you're governed by the community redevelopment area plan and the budget you have. So anything else outside of that is called mission creep. So again, like you were saying, as far as we want to talk about anything else, if it's not really CAC, we're going to say do your thing. But if it's CAC business, then we can talk about it. But you also have bylaws to basically govern the actual CAC and how you operate here. So this policy was approved by the trustees, right?
Correct. Yes, by the trustees.
Sure. So the policy you have there before you, this is basically your rules of engagement. So these are, the purpose of the policy is basically uniform guidelines for the CAC Citizens Advisory Committee. These are the rules that you'll follow, basically. So, for instance, 2, the purpose that you have here is to provide the CRA trustees with recommendations in connection with key decisions to be made by the CRA trustees. So one of the things that you need to understand is that you have a recommending body, an advisory body. But you can be as powerful as you want to be. It's as much involvement as you get from the community, and you name it, as long as it's within the purview of what you have in your scope of work, then you're good to go. But you are a recommending body. We'll be bringing items to you to review, and you can provide us a recommendation, and then we'll go from there and take it to the trustees. As far as appointment, you're a 5-member body. This is basically spelled out in the community redevelopment plan. So 3 members selected by the city council, not the CRA trustees, but the city council, and then 2 members by Pinellas County. Did those on page 1? And as far as the composition, we don't need to go through the composition, but you know the composition when you did your applications. So as far as the terms of service, the length of terms of service we see is basically 2 years. We recently made an amendment to this policy only because the CAC was, by the time we would have had you apply, you would have had to select new members because it ends basically October 1st. Your term would end October 1st. It's already going to be October 1st. So basically 2 years from now. But you do have staggered terms as stated in number 7 here. So 2 members shall serve initial terms all the way to 2025 to 2026, and then 1 to 2027. Are they all taken care of?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Then, as far as the body here, there is one ex officio member. We have an ex officio organization that recommends an individual to serve as a CAC member. That member is Ms. Marilyn. So the Clearwater Urban Leadership Coalition recommended her. We took her to the trustees and they selected her. So if you, for some reason, did not want to serve again or whatever it may be, then the coalition would have to select and recommend another individual. Everyone else is basically what the criteria is here as far as ownership, business, resident, homeownership. As you know, you have a chair and vice chair. You don't have a secretary or treasurer or anything like that. City staff acts as all that. Duties of the chair, and it's already spelled out what that is. Then as far as the committee membership, if a CAC member has more than 2 unexcused CAC meeting absences within a 12-month period, that member's service may be recommended for termination to the city council or the Pinellas County Board of County Commissioners. Members shall notify the CR director or designee if you're unable to attend. Basically what that means is just let us know if you can't make it. I'll excuse you. And plus, not only me, but also take it to the chair and let the chair know, and if the chair wants to excuse as well, ultimate decision is going to be on you as far as if you excuse certain items. We understand you're human, things happen. We got families and everything else.
It's all good.
So as far as the relationship to the CAC and staff and the trustees, the City's Community Redevelopment Agency will provide staff support for your CAC. The work will be done by you. And basically, you'll run your meetings, the chair will run it. If the chair is absent, the vice chair will step in his place. And basically, again, you'll run your meetings using Robert's Rule of Order. If you want to read the whole thing, go for it, but you don't need to.
Oh, my.
What I did do is, if we can pass these out.
And while you're passing that out, just so that we're clear, so you all will be taking notes and provide minutes to the meeting and act as the official record keeper for all of them. Okay. All right, cool.
By law, because this is a group governed under the Florida Sunshine Law,
Okay.
we have to take minutes.
Gotcha.
And the meeting has to be advertised in accordance with state statute. If a meeting for some reason isn't advertised, we can't have the meeting. If you don't have a quorum, the meeting cannot start. If you lose a quorum, all discussion needs to stop until that quorum comes back. And if the individual is gone for a certain amount of time, then the meeting needs to adjourn immediately, because then you're in violation of the Florida Sunshine Law of not having a quorum. You can't, because you're a CAC. If you were a nonprofit or anything else, and you're not under the sunshine, you can still have your meetings. You just can't you can't do motions or votes or anything like that, but your meeting can still continue. Here, you're governed not only by Robert's Rule of Order, but the sunshine prohibits you from discussing without a quorum. But I did provide you basically the top 10 motions on how to run a CAC. Now, if there's any conflict with this is going to govern it. This is going to trump all this. But this is just basic motions on how to run your meeting. All of you have already probably served on committees, so you know what you got to do. But just in case if you don't, this is a little cheat sheet here. Basically, it gives you, how to call a meeting to order, approving the agendas, minutes, how to make a motion. For instance, when you run a meeting, you make a motion. Before any discussions occurs, you need to have a second. If there is no second, then that motion dies and you move on. Then motion, second, discussion, then you take your vote. If there's an amendment to that motion, then I have a little cheat sheet here how to do that amendment. You can either make an amendment, but the chair needs to basically recognize that amendment and either get consensus for the group or get a motion to make that amendment. But this is just basic cheat sheet up here. So, all right.
Mr. Chairman, I have a point of order.
This is your meeting.
Mm-hmm.
For your discussion, any item, anyone from the public that wishes to speak, then I do think that after we're done with this item, this is a public meeting and we should have had it on the agenda to afford public comment. So I will ask you to make a motion to add public comment to your agenda. But any other discussion you're having, this is your discussions. I respect the community and we wish them all to come here, but it's your discussions and not discussions back and forth unless it's the chair you want to allow someone to say something.
Okay, so the first thing that we'll need is a motion to allow public comment. So do I have a motion to?
I make a motion to allow public comment.
Second.
Okay, seconded. Any discussion?
Are you going to have it at a specific point in the meeting, or is it throughout the meeting?
That's a wonderful question.
So moving forward, at the beginning of every agenda, you'll have it in here, a template, actually it says it here, number 13, on the page I was on, as far as how your agendas will usually be composed of. You have a call to order, roll call, then public comment, then you go on to your regular business. And again, I'm not an expert on this, we just have a cheat sheet, but if anything in here trumps this, then this will always prevail. But
So if I'm understanding you, the public discussion will happen at a specific point in the meeting and not throughout the course of the meeting.
correct, so you'll have, just like city council meetings or any other government meetings, Pinellas County Board of County Commissioner, school board, you name it, you have public comment either at the beginning of your meeting or at the end of your meeting. So certain items on your agenda, they may require public comment as well, just like city council. But when those items come up, like in the next meetings and you have action items, then we can afford public comment. So the public comment usually is no more than 3 minutes. We'll be the timekeepers on that public comment.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. You've had discussion, so from that point,
Mr. Chairman, may I speak briefly to this issue? We do not object to the movement on the agenda of the public comment
Let's-
at any time.
Let's,
That's all I want to
I know,
say right
let's,
now.
let's follow the rules real quick. So this wasn't an original item on your agenda?
Yes, it was, it was right here.
Oh, it is? Public comments on here?
Citizens to be heard regarding items not on the agenda, number 2. And I've been here since the beginning.
Okay, so I apologize.
Okay.
Let's keep it orderly, respectful to the chair. I'm not trying to be disrespectful.
No, sir, I understand.
Where's my agenda?
My objection is not to the now, any time, at the end, just before you adjourn this fine. Thank you.
okay. So with that being said,
Okay, we just skipped the whole number 2 by accident somehow. So.
okay, so with that being said, I guess being that this is already on the agenda, then the motion and the second, it's not really relevant,
No,
right?
you can
So,
take back your motion.
so you want to take back your motion?
I make a motion to remove my motion,
Your second.
to rescind my motion.
Okay. All right, cool. So what we'll do is, we'll just bump the number 2 item to the end of the meeting to allow for citizen discussion.
No, as soon as you're done with this particular item in the policy, we need to go to that item we missed by accident.
Okay. All right. So with that being said, is there any other
Let me see if there's anything else.
talking points that you have for?
One requirements, sunshine and public records law, which we spoke about already.
Yeah, if you don't have a quorum, you can't start your meeting.
Right.
So your rule is if a CAC meeting loses a quorum for more than 15 minutes, the meeting shall be adjourned. So if in the middle of the meeting, someone steps out to, I'd say it, like a phone call, they're gone for like 20 minutes, you have to adjourn your meeting because they were not respectful enough to let you know. But if you have to leave, if the emergencies come up, then sometimes you have to leave. So if you notify the chair and myself, notify the chair directly, notify us and we'll notify the chair, hey, so-and-so will have to leave the meeting at this specified time, and that person makes a quorum, then you know that you might lose that quorum at that specific time, so you plan accordingly. Things happen. Other than that, I don't really have anything else.
Okay. All right. So that completes that agenda item. So moving back to Item number 2 on the agenda, citizens to be heard regarding items not on the agenda. Sir?
Hello, let's, the rules for public comment is state your name.
My name is Mike Foley. I live at 1809 Apache Trail. And I live adjacent to, I'm a riparian resident of Stevenson Creek. In the 90s, you may recall there was a battle for Stevenson Creek. Are you familiar with Stevenson Creek?
Yes.
You know where it is?
Yes.
You've seen
Yes,
it?
yes.
Great. I represent today a group called the Stevenson Creek Advocacy Group. And we're interested in the preservation and restoration of Stevenson Creek. In the 90s, we championed and won an argument with the city, which resulted in the construction of the Glen Oaks Water Park. It is a state-of-the-art facility that cleans pollution and stormwater and gathers stormwater to protect property. The pipes going into Glen Oaks were the dirtiest pipes in the state of Florida. It's now clean. The water coming down Stevenson Creek from Glen Oaks is as good as you get in an urban environment. We have the Marshall Street plant, which is a sewage treatment plant that is now servicing all of the new construction on the beach, as well as our neighborhood. And I noticed, and so that's kind of just, I have noticed you have a map here, you probably all have a copy that is like this. And as you'll notice, Stevenson Creek is an estuary. An estuary is a special place that fish breed. Stevenson Creek has historically been an amazing estuary and one of the largest estuaries on the west coast of Florida, excepting Tampa Bay. We can see improvements in Stevenson Creek now that the dredge that occurred 10 years ago or so has been restoring the basin. The basin is improving. We're seeing manatees in there almost on a weekly basis. We're seeing mullet coming back, crabs coming back, snooker in right now. Redfish has been seen recently. So I want you to know that Stevenson Creek is coming back. It's slow, it's gradual, but a lot of work, Glen Oaks, all that pollution has been helping the area. Someday Marshall Street will be gone. We're looking forward to that. I have something I brought for you all. Now, our Stevenson Creek Advocacy Group is a new group, and we have a web page that's going up very soon, within the week. This will guide you to the web page. Okay? So you'll go there now. If you click that on your computer, you'll go there, but it won't be up. It'll say in progress, working. But we invite you to see what we're doing. We have pictures, moving pictures of manatee. We have, and in this map, this is important. Here's your area of your jurisdiction. We have noticed that the Stevenson Creek estuary has been carved out. Why? Because we're not sure, but a commercial dock with 10 boat slips has been proposed for that area. We're opposing, our Stevenson Creek Advocacy Group is opposing that dock. We want you to participate in our opposition. That's what I'm inviting you to do.
It's been 3 months.
Because
If you
we're
want to give them more time,
opposed,
it's up to you.
yes, I'll wrap it up real quickly now. We're opposed to commercializing docks in that area. Single docks have never been opposed. But a commercial dock will invite, when new condominiums are built, more commercial docks, and we will never restore the estuary if that happens. And that's it in a nutshell.
Okay,
I
thank you,
hope you all
sir.
appreciate that. I hope you all consider it and take it as part of your agenda in the future. Thank you.
And if I may,
Thank you.
Just for the public,
Yes.
it's their CAC, and this first meeting is to get them oriented on kind of, how they operate. So I hope they work very well with the community, because it is all of your communities. The public comment is 3 minutes, and I'll be notifying the chair. I'll just go like this when 2 minutes are up, and it's up to the chair if he wants to afford an extra 30 seconds, minute, or whatever it may be. And it's just there so that the public, certain people might do a whole full-blown presentation.
Before I ask for questions, I'd like to just say I was the chairman of the Clearwater Environmental Advisory Board for a year, and I know what your difficulties will be. And one of them is public comments. But we always found that it was beneficial to allow the public a little latitude. Okay, thank you very much. Are there any questions? Okay. Do you understand what I was speaking to? Thank you very much.
Explained very well.
Thank you.
And one more thing again, this first meeting is just education mostly, so after that, we'll leave you alone, do your thing, which is super important.
Welcome
But
this, thank you.
It's up to the CAC, that when you give public comment, you don't have to respond to any comment, you can just hear it for the record. If you wish to respond, always be recognized by the chair to respond.
I'd like to say something, if it's still public comment. Okay.
Sure.
Kathy Clarity, I live in the Eastgate CRA, and I've been very active in that for the past 10 years, and I really wish you guys the best. I wish I had an advisory committee in my Eastgate. I'm really jealous. So you guys do have a lot of sway. One thing, I read your Greenwood, the development plan, and it's not geared toward capital improvements, I don't think. It's more geared toward paying the funds toward getting things developed. So I like capital improvements, so you might want to review your plan, because there's some stuff about putting like kayaks and facilities on there. That's okay with the plan, but that's not in your budget to do so. So you guys might want to have a workshop about what you can and can't do according to the plan, because that plan is very narrow. They devised it very, like, my plan had capital improvements, and we could do like a mercado, and we could do street market, which I'm trying to get going. But your all's plan is more a development plan. So I think you guys should make sure you know what your plan says you can do, because that's important.
Thank you.
One more. Hi, my name is Daryl Lakey. I live on
Just give me 1
Sure,
second
sure.
to reset this, and
Sure.
you're good to go.
Go. My name is Daryl Lakey. I'm the Vice President of SCAG, which is the Stevenson Creek Advocacy Group. We're strongly opposed to the docks. I know it's not in your area, yet it does impact the creek. Also, I've been working with the city about the sewer spills, which is, definitely in your area. I've been harping on them for a week, and we finally got a plan of attack that they're supposedly going to use. It's a 10-year plan. Probably take 20 years. You know how the city goes. But we at SCAG are here to help you in any way we can and support you and work with you in regards to the creek and the surrounding areas. It's not just the creek. We live here, I would imagine, like you all do, and it's our creek, it's our home, and we need to take care of it. We can get together afterwards if you want to exchange numbers or emails, or if you have any questions. No, it's good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Seeing none, thank you very much. Moving on to our next agenda item, to approve a meeting schedule for the North Greenwood Citizens Advisory Committee.
Aaron Lopez will be going through this particular item, but the meeting schedule you have there, like you were asking earlier, from time to time, there may be requests for special meetings, and we'll try to accommodate what you'll go through that particular item.
So this agenda item is to schedule, to formalize and get a schedule meeting for going for the CAC. Excuse me. So what we kind of looked at when we came up with a recommendation is really what's a good time frame that would work, knowing that a lot of the members on the board are, you know, like us, have jobs outside of your service here on this board. So what staff has recommended as part of your policy, section 13, is to have the first Wednesday of each quarter month at 5:30. So in your policy, it states that meetings will be on a quarterly basis. So if this works for the board, that's what staff's recommendation is. Again, this advisory board is a little bit different than all others that are normally held within City of Clearwater Council chambers. We want this one to be within the community. So we could potentially host them here at the North Greenwood Rec Center on a regular basis, or we can kind of move them around, but this is kind of what staff's recommendation is the first Wednesday of each quarter month at 5:30 p.m., potentially with a location that's to be determined each month of the meeting.
And as far as the location, sometimes individuals might want to have it like a private business or so forth. Just have to recognize that there's all kind of accommodations that need to be met for ADA, Americans with Disability Act, all different things need to be met. That's why usually we just have like a community center, a library, and so forth. But if you find somewhere else more unique, it needs to be accommodating to basically and inclusive to the entire community.
Is there any thoughts, any discussion?
I will say, okay, I'm gonna try first. That works well for me, actually, that first Wednesday. You said 5:30. Yeah, that works good for me. And two, it's after a time when the public, if they want to come, it's after, yeah, people get out of work, so.
Yes, sir.
I have something. I'm on the board of directors for the Francis Wilson Playhouse, and we would like to host the odd meeting. Have the meeting on the stage. If people come, they can sit in the audience. And I'm pretty sure we have a ramp for, you know, people that need a wheel access.
Okay.
So I'll throw it out there. And,
Sounds good. Anything else? Thank you.
no, that's all.
You need a motion.
So can I please have a motion for the approval of the meeting schedule? I guess that's number one. So approving the meeting schedule is number one. Can I please have a motion for that?
Kim Crawford, I move that we have the meetings the first Wednesday of the quarter at 5:30 p.m.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, so proper move and second. Any discussion?
Location?
I was thinking I was going to be a second motion.
Okay.
If I may, it's up to you.
Sure.
I'm strongly recommending that you set your schedule for a public facility. Then after that, as you're having your meetings, if you wish to make a motion that our next meeting be at this particular
Okay.
location,
Okay.
you have them at a neutral location at least planned out. But then as things are going, hey, next month, next quarter, let's have it over here. You make a motion, yeah, let's do it.
Okay, all right, that makes sense. All right, so with that being said, do we need a new motion to add that? So taking away the first motion, a new motion to add the location, or no?
You can either continue with this motion, go ahead and make a new motion, or add an amendment. Someone make an amendment to.
Person who made the first motion,
Yep.
if they want to amend their motion to have a standing location, we would need to add that to their motion and then be seconded by your second.
Okay,
Gotcha.
I move to amend the initial motion to include the public location, public location, such as this facility, the rec center.
The rec center. Okay, cool. Second?
Second that.
Second it. Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none?
Citizen comment?
Citizen comments? Seeing none? Motion carries.
All those in favor?
Oh, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Just have my own
Yes.
business today. I had to sit a little earlier. It's hard. It's hard to remember.
All
It's a work
right.
in progress.
Yep, we're getting there. We're getting there. All right, so on to our next agenda item, provide an overview of the North Greenwood fiscal year 23-24 and fiscal year 24-25 budgets.
This envelope has to go over the budget. It was stated by the community. You had, and earlier, you have increment funds that start to come in, then we're starting to put those in the budget, and basically your trust fund. But I had to go through the budget, and I'm gonna turn it over to her.
All right, so the first item that you have in your agenda item for this is a copy of the third quarter budget amendments for this fiscal year, which is October 1st, 2023 through September 30th, 2024. This amendment was approved in August 12th of 2024. And the way that you can see your budget is outlined, it shows your revenues. So for Pinellas County, for increment funding, we received $156,641. For the city of Clearwater increment, you received $190,848, and then there's the $3 million that was provided by the city of Clearwater General Fund for an overall revenue of just a little over $3.3 million. So when we looked at creating this amendment for the budget, we kind of looked at the time frame that we were at in the fiscal year. So your operating expenditures are $24,000, which are very minimal. Those costs really were for setting up the CAC, getting agenda packets created and printed, advertising. So those are the items that we have outlined. And then in your transfers out, we then take what's remaining in your revenue and transfer those out based off of recommendations that were made within your North Greenwood plan. So what we have is the first one, which is administrative. So that is a portion of your city increment that helps to pay for the CRA staff to support the North Greenwood efforts. And then the first set of items that are highlighted in red, those are created using the $3 million general fund. So that's to create programming for residential improvements, business improvements, the rehabilitation of the Carlton Avenue property, which the CRA purchased back in October of 2023, for public infrastructure and public art, which could include murals within the North Greenwood CRA.
Just want to make one thing clear though, as far as where it says public infrastructure for $700,000, or within this pink part or peach or whatever color that is, there's $500,000 additionally that will be used for maintenance projects, but it's not completely spelled out since these numbers can literally be broken up even more. Go ahead.
Then the next project that we have is an allocation of $76,422 from the county, and I'm sorry, from the city. I looked at those, that didn't make sense. From the city increment, and that is for any future housing needs within the North Greenwood CRA. And then the last two are housing and mobility projects. So what I did there was I took the increment received from the county and just divided it by 2. So one thing that we do know as CRA staff is the increment that we receive from Pinellas County is very strict on how we can and cannot spend their money. So you will always see the county's money will be used for housing, mobility, certain infrastructures or purchases, but their use and allows of how we utilize their county increment funding is very strict for us as a CRA. And with that, are there any questions for your current third quarter budget?
Yes, what exactly does mobility account for?
Basically, mobility would be, again, that's being your plan. In this plan, just very quickly too, it's not only a community development area plan, but it's also a special area plan. So a lot of the recommendations in there, they're not for your increment. They're recommendations to be used other funding sources like the city's general fund or grants or whatever it may be, CDBG. So a lot of stuff in here, it can be confusing. You think, well, it's in the plan. Well, the plan recommends that you use another funding source because you can't use your increment. Mobility is more like sidewalks, like rights of way, trails, you name it, things that have to do with transit, different things.
Okay. So going back to a point you made, if the increment can't be used for some of the things in the plan and other funding sources are required to make that happen, where will that money come from? I mean, I see we have the general fund there, but like, I mean, at some point that money is gonna run out, so how do we make sure that?
That'll be all increment that you'll be operating. And again, you're one of the lucky community redevelopment areas that you were actually given an injection of $5 million of ARPA funds that are now just regular general fund we gave you. In the future, and sometimes it takes CRAs, they don't do anything for like 5 years because they're just growing their increment. You had an injection of $5 million, so you see your increment funds are pretty small compared to that $3 million. But every year they'll get a little bit larger and larger as you start to improve your community.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions?
No.
No?
No, I'm good. I thought about it. I think I got it answered.
Okay, all right, awesome. So with there not being anything else, community? Oh, wait.
I still have a little bit more to go.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Nope, you're fine. So the other two items that are attached to your agenda item are the proposed budget for the 2024-2025 fiscal year, which is October 1st, 24 through September 30th of 2025. And we're anticipating a little over $800,000 received from increment from both the city and the county. And again, we've split those out with your operating expenditures. And then an administrative fee for CRA staff, and then kind of took what was remaining of that balance and kind of split it out. Your plan does call for a specific use of some of your increment funding, so that's for right now how we have set up your different projects. And as the director stated, there are certain items within your plan that may have different funding sources, and those could come to you to say, you know, this project or this capital improvement project was created using this funding source, right? We would let you guys know as you're the recommending body for the area, but it wouldn't necessarily come out of the CRA funding source. It could come out of a different funding source.
Okay.
And we will take that recommendation to them and they can either move it along or do whatever they want to do.
Any questions?
I have one. These funds that we have here, you're talking about growing them, so you're thinking of bigger projects. Do they expire, or is there a time window we have to use the funds?
Every single time you get your increment revenue, and know better than I do, it needs to be budgeted. So you need to put it into line items. CRAs, by law, you can't have contingency funds and things like that. So everything needs to be into a line item project or something, program. Even if it carries over, at least you have it in the line. Honestly, we usually use infrastructure as like a catch-all. Shouldn't be saying that for the record, but we just put for infrastructure. If you see it, usually line item says infrastructure. Probably, if we need to reprogram, budget stuff differently, we just take it from there and move somewhere else if we need to.
No. Yeah, I mean, there could be a need to potentially do budget amendments throughout the year. You know, if there's a specific project within the plan that, right now, maybe we need to see this specific project move forward, but we don't really have the funds for it, where we have the funds in a different project, but we don't necessarily see any moving. We can always move funds around knowing that, they'll be replenished every year. So this CAC, every community redevelopment agency, they're not meant to be around forever. So this CAC was granted 20 years. So, yes, 20 years, it sounds like a lot. We'll see. I don't anticipate I'll be here in 20 years, but I will be cheering you on.
Question?
So about the 20 years, I do recall that even if they were granted for a certain number of years, ours being 20, but there was an opportunity to extend that even further.
Unfortunately, we can't predict the future, so.
I'm saying
it's
that's
no-
down the road, we may be able to.
You never know, the statute has
Gotcha.
changed from time to time, so it's 10 years from now or 5 years from now, they can change the statute completely and eliminate state of California, their CRS. They just blanket eliminated all of them like
Oh,
10
my.
years ago.
Got it.
So
That don't happen.
I have a question. So looking at the proposed budget, right? So we know based off of the increase, like this is the money that will be coming in, correct?
Yes.
So with that being said, is there a specific time frame every year where the money is actually collected and added to?
It really depends. For the city, it's usually right within the month of October. The county kind of depends on snail mail and when we get the check.
Okay.
So we actually do receive a physical check from Pinellas County for the increment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Any other questions?
This budget, it says proposed there, but it's actually already gone through the approvals.
Okay. So do we actually need to?
No.
No, it's
Okay.
just an overview of the.
Gotcha. All right, thank you very much. Moving on to the next item, overview of the current North Greenwood grant programs.
So we do have, I'm going to have Julia go through the 2 grant programs we have. And again, this plan here, and I do have to give kudos to the city of Clearwater. This plan was heavily vetted, and all these public meetings with the city of North Greenwood community to create this. So 2 of the programs that we created to basically help us, anything we do, any program, project we do, is all to implement your plan. If the plan doesn't make sense, then we attempt to try to change it. We usually recommend every 5 years you start looking at your plan, so if you need to amend it, scrap it, start over, whatever it may be. But we do have 2 programs that are in alignment with the plan. One is a commercial grant program for physical construction of existing businesses, then another one's a residential exterior program for homesteaded lower income individuals. And I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Julia to go over the 2 programs.
Hi,
Hey.
Julia Baltus, CRA specialist, just for the record. I just wanted to give you all a brief overview of the 2 grants that we have for our North Greenwood community. The residential grant to start off with, the City of Clearwater Community Redevelopment Agency Residential Exterior Improvement Grant Program is designed to increase access to redevelopment funding for residential improvements to homestead single-family homes in the North Greenwood Community Redevelopment Area. So the purpose of the program is to rehabilitate single-family homes, improve property conditions, aesthetics, reduce housing costs, burdens, and aid in elimination of slum and blight. The focus of this program is directed to the exterior improvements of residential properties to enhance neighborhood aesthetic and pride. So the purpose of the program is to support the there you go, thank you, of the adopted community redevelopment area plan for the North Greenwood Community Redevelopment Area in accordance with the Florida Community Redevelopment Act of 1969, section 163.330. So just a little bit overview. This is an exterior program, so that's what it's focused on. The grant is up to $20,000, and there could be a match depending on the federal HUD and state income limits. So we definitely look at the little chart that's on page 3. So we have income requirements, well, not income requirements, but we have to take in, sorry, a little nervous. Got thrown on the spot. So we're going to be accepting a couple different things from applicants. If the applicant is self-employed, we're going to want to see their year-to-date profits and loss. A part of the application, the applicants are going to need to provide 2 years of 2 years last tax returns with all schedules and W-9 or W-2s, 1099s. most recent and consecutive last 2 months of bank statements with bank accounts and all account numbers. If it's combined with the ED&H, which is the Economic Development and Housing Home Rehabilitation Loan for Economic Development, more additional information may be required. Some eligibility criteria for this program: the applicant must be a homeowner in the North Greenwood community. It has to be a single-family home. The property must be homestead, and they have to be current on their property taxes, current on their mortgage. If they don't have a mortgage, they need to supply us a deed. They have to be in good standing with the city. The only potential waiver is that if a home has a code violation, the executive director has the authority to kind of waive that to help with that. Now, like I said earlier, it is an exterior program, so anything exterior is what the grant program's for. The applicant needs to supply the CRA with photos, 3 quotes per project, and that's pretty much about it for the residential.
I can add a little bit too, and the way we drafted this, again, is we have limited funding, so we want to make sure that the individuals that are most in need benefit first, because those are the individuals usually, especially the homeowners, the elderly, the lower income individuals, those are the ones that usually can't afford those repairs. So their structure, their homes start to deteriorate faster. So, plus the plan calls for affordable housing, the statute calls for affordable housing, and individuals can get cost burden pretty quickly as far as their homes. So we did build in certain criteria as far as the area median income they had to reach. So, and we also understand that we can create grants all day long, but the ones that we're trying to create for can't access those grants at all. It's basically like you create a grant and you're dangling it and they can't reach it because it might require a matching portion of some sort when individuals sometimes can't even afford to pay the electric bill. So we did build in those mechanisms for their contribution can be volunteer hours, especially if you're like 30% area median income and below, then your contribution would be 5%, but that 5% could be volunteering at a recognized community, recognized not-for-profit in the area, for instance, the Urban Leadership Coalition, there's many others out here, and we'll put a monetary value to those volunteer hours, and that's their match. And as you start to go up in income, the matching percentage goes a little bit higher, but they can still volunteer. Then if you go above 120% AMI area median income, then you just don't qualify for the program because again, it's limited funds and we need to be basically intentional on who we're trying to focus with up front. Later on, as we start to really be successful, we can spread it out more. But right now, we don't want to go over to fix up a rental property that the landlord's not fixing in the first place. There could be reasons for that too. For instance, my mother owns some properties that are falling apart, but yeah, we want to target the homeowners first. And one more thing too, just for the public here too, it is exterior work, but interior is also eligible if, for instance, your roof is leaking and it destroys the inside of your kitchen, you fix the roof, then if there's money left over, you can fix whatever got damaged. Or if you have life safety issues internally, for instance, your floor is caving in or your bathroom floor because your toilet, the flange isn't secure, now it's leaking everywhere and destroys your floor and it's falling in, that's a life safety issue, we'll fix that. ADA issues too, if someone is elderly or has disabilities, they need ADA accommodations, we'll go in there and do that. So there's ways we can get interior work done.
That was my question.
Okay.
I know that it said it was directed towards exterior, but I was thinking about like air conditioning. Someone I specifically had COPD and needs air and things like
High-vac
that.
systems qualify, and high-vac systems are not
Wonderful.
only exterior to the unit, but also.
Love it.
I have a question. Do the improvements change their tax structure at all?
Well, these are grants, so grants, basically, they're not reported, they don't report as income, but, usually if you're a homesteaded individual, you already have a cap there, but
Okay.
it could potentially, it brings up the value of your property, and that's usually our increment grows, but
Greenwood.
if you're homesteaded, you're already pretty much protected, but your home, we drive around, if we see the structures that are literally falling apart, we'll try to knock on the door. And if you recognize anyone's out there who needs help, funds are limited, send them over and we'll vet them.
So Jesus, just to kind of, I guess, touch on something I'm reading here and the example that I think you just gave as far as maybe you're living in a house and your mom owns the house, right? But you're living there. I see here applicants that reside at the property control said property other than outright ownership and authorized to approve the repair. So in a sense, even though you're not the owner, it's your mom's house and you're living there, you could still kind of qualify.
If it's not, it needs to be homesteaded.
Okay.
So if you're working towards homesteading, then we can still work with you. I can work with, I'm the executive director, so I'll work with anybody if I think they're being honest. So, okay, your parents, I hate to say it, but if someone dies and they leave the property sometime, lower income communities, people don't have wills and all those different things, so things go to probate and all kinds of stuff. But if I can understand your situation and show me the documentation, I'll try to work with you. If it ultimately you have 10 different property owners in 10 different states that aren't resolving their issues, that's a different story you have to resolve.
Absolutely.
But I'll work with you. Code issues, behind on your mortgage, as long as it's not crazy, behind on your taxes, if you're making payments, I'll work with you.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah, I had a question on
Yes,
that.
sir.
Is there a total budget for that? I see that it's 20,000 max on a
Yes.
grant.
And so
How many
there-
20,000 grants can we get in there?
I think the total max for this, I want to say was 200,000.
Okay.
So we have more funds.
Right, but that's going for other programs.
Is that under the residential improvement project? Okay. So with that 500,000 line item, it's further broken down under that.
It's further broken down
Okay.
under that for different programs that were within the plan. Now, the way that the program was approved, I want to say it was for an allocation of $200,000 for the program.
We'll clarify and get back to you. but
Okay.
You have a lot of funding that we can move around potentially, because we don't have too many other programs.
Gotcha. Awesome. Thank you. Any other questions?
You can,
Chair.
Sure. Go for it.
you get into that, $20,000 if a homeowner applies for that and gets that grant. I would imagine there would be like a building permit involved.
We are only funding, we're only providing grant funding. So if anyone, we require 3 permits, not 3 permits, but 3 quotes or estimates as far as from legitimate contractors that will vet. So all of the work to receive this grant funding needs to be done legally. So if it
Well, my
requires,
question, if you need a building permit, it's going to go against the property and
yeah, that's where you go from.
the city's going to assess that, in their future taxes.
that's fine. If your roof is caving in, then you're gonna lose your house because it's gonna destroy your home. And we understand that value does get added to homes, even if you had a grant or not. If you need to fix your roof,
Yeah.
you gotta go pull a permit to fix your roof. We're just being that extension to help them fix that roof.
All right. Thank you very much. All right. Next agenda item is old business items.
We have
I think we have another
Oh,
grant.
there's another question.
There's another
No,
grant.
commercial grant.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
Thank you.
So,
There was a question before.
Did you have a question? Was there another question or no? No?
Did you
Okay,
say-
cool.
okay, you said-
No, we just had another grant.
Gotcha. Thank you. All right.
Yeah.
Commercial grant?
yeah, we have one more grant. This is a commercial grant, so for the businesses in our North Greenwood community. It is a grant that is up to $75,000. It is designed to promote investment in business development and incentivize commercial property owners and business owners located within our North Greenwood redevelopment area to make building, structural, and site improvements to their property. In addition, the program will aid to create a positive visual impact on the image and character of the community. The program aims to strengthen local businesses, improving their competitiveness, productivity, capacity, job creation abilities, and promote business-friendly atmosphere. A couple things about the program. You have to, sorry. Okay, it is the intent of this program to attract or improve the following types of businesses in the CRA. So this is not limited to the following: retail, restaurant, and food services, microbreweries, personal services, art studios and galleries, co-working spaces, and professional offices. This grant, again, is up to $75,000 to assist applicants with improvements to commercial properties. To qualify for the program grant funds, the applicant must match the grant amount by the percentage amount listed in Table 1, which is on page 3 of the grant program description, or greater investment or private funds or verifiable grant funds for the rehabilitation and restoration of the qualifying commercial property located in the North Greenwood CRA. So on page 3, under Table 1, you'll see a business owner grant match responsibility. And then, so to be eligible for this program, the applicant must meet the following qualifications. They must be the owner of the subject property. The business must be an allowable use on the subject property in accordance with the city's land and building development regulation codes. They must be current in all property taxes in the city of Clearwater business fees. They must be in good standing with the city. The property must be free of code enforcement liens or other city liens. The business or new proposed business on the property must be independently owned and operated local business. If the business is an independently owned or operated franchise, other franchise locations associated with the same brand must only be located within the municipal boundary of the city. Some of the eligible improvements are some interior improvements and exterior improvements. I won't go through all of them. They're going to be on page 5 of your commercial program description, commercial grant program description. Other eligible items, which I think is really cool: pre-development costs, architecture, engineering fees, other as approved by our CRA executive director, up to $5,000. Some ineligible assistance is past site or building improvements, improvements covered under the city's facade improvement grant program, non-permanent improvements, bars, clubs, taverns, assistance to the city, assistance to businesses located in residential homes, not-for-profits, mobile vendors. In order to go ahead and move forward with this process, an applicant is going to need to submit a couple of things to the CRA staff team, which is a completed application. They're going to have to schedule a meeting with the CRA staff team prior to applying to discuss everything in and out. A fully executed and notarized copy of the owner's affidavit form if they are a leasee, a business owner and they're leasing the building. Applicants must submit a completed application as part of the design plans, floor plans, accurately detailing the square footage of improvement area within the commercial structure, pictures, an estimated itemized detailed budget must be provided on the budget form of the application. Again, 3 quotes per project from the contractors and copies of their license. The owner must demonstrate their source of funding, of the owner funding, and their ability to meet the financial obligation of the program. Staff will review the application for completeness, and they have to be itemized quotes, just going back to the quotes, and then that's pretty much about it.
Because these aren't, this is the community's funding. You know, people, we get quotes, estimates all the time that are just $50,000 in one line. I said, what? That means nothing. If someone's doing work in your house, you want to know what they're, you know, what you're charging you for. And this is the community's money, so some contractors might have an issue with itemizing their estimates, but it's your money. We need to protect the community's money, so you need to show us where you're, you know, where you're using that money to. We did build in the legacy portion because we understand that access to capital, especially the financial side of access to capital, is very important to North Greenwood. So if you've been here over 20 years, then your match is 0, if you can prove that. And we also know that, again, your matching portion can be difficult, so if your match is another grant, we'll accept that too. So if the facade grant the city has, again, city and CRA, I'm the director for the city's economic and housing department too. So if that grant, you can use that grant for matching too. So we want to help the businesses out here. commercial businesses, especially, of course, our plan in the future, as we help as many people as possible, businesses, then we can venture out to different. Right now, not-for-profits aren't included in this. It's mostly, we want to concentrate as much as possible in MLK, but anyone within the North Greenwood boundary will qualify.
And with this also being an attraction point, so if a business or a resident in the community wanted to purchase some land to develop it for a business, this would.
No,
No.
this is for, again, we need to start with the plan. The plan and is caused to slow down the deterioration of existing structures. So that's the first funding we have for the first couple of years, is targeting the existing slum and blight.
Okay.
That needs to be taken care of. New construction, that's very touchy for CRAs. We can do that, but it's, North Greenwood has a lot of structures that fall. Barbecue place right here we're working with.
Gotcha. So the reason why I ask is it says right here, it is the intent of this program to attract. So I guess I was just reading that as a business, like you're trying to attract businesses to the area, right? But with that being said, in order to qualify for this grant, if it is a business in this area, they would need to occupy a building that already is here in order to qualify for this. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And we have, in the economic development branch, we have business recruitment individuals that can help attract more business to move into units.
Gotcha.
One of the things is, it's in the budget, but we didn't bring here before you, is we're working on a contract with Pinellas County Economic Development with Dr. Johnson there and her group to provide technical assistance to existing businesses in the North Greenwood area. So helping with business plans, helping work with financial institutions, helping with financial literacy, whatever it may be, and partner up with the coalition as well. So we're working on a lot of different things that will be coming before you.
Sounds good. You have a question?
Yes, I have a question because I received this question about a daycare center. A young lady who's had her daycare center in her home, she operates out of her home and has been for at least 20 years, if not longer, if she would be eligible for this. So I know she went through the whole list, but it was pretty quick, so I'm not.
If she wants to find a unit to do her daycare, we would help her out with the grant, and I can get my economic development staff to come work with her as well. But it specifically says in the plan, and even in here, that, and this came from the community, not from me, from us, that if you have a business in your home, then this grant's not gonna help. If your home is homesteaded, then you go after the homestead extra grant.
Okay, gotcha. Good deal.
Any
I
other?
had a follow-up question what we're talking about. I understand that it doesn't apply to new businesses that don't exist. But once it do exist, is there a requirement they had to exist for 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 2 years, 2 years?
It's very small businesses, the first few months, first year, their survival rate is extremely, it's very difficult to survive. So we're not going to penalize someone. We'll try our best to help them. That's why we're getting that technical assistance from Pinellas County. See how we can make sure they survive. If someone wants to start a new business and this is their first one, they find a unit and they have a lease that says that they have authority to modify that unit or to fix it up so they can operate, and then we'll work with them.
Okay. I had another one. It's my budget question. Is there a limit on funds for this grant category? Not for individual grants, but for the total?
I think I said 200,000.
No, actually, I looked it up. So the commercial grant program was allocated $833,472, and the residential grant program was allocated $400,000 for that grant program.
Okay, so they have separate limits. Thank you.
Awesome. Any other questions? Yes.
Yes. Hi, my name is Loretta. I know most of the people in here. I have a nonprofit where I teach gardening programs in housing country and all of those fun things. I have a rental property that I own here in the community that's going to be coming available next month. So I was considering taking that house and turning it into an office where I can have a community garden in the backyard, because the yard is huge. Is that something that I would be able to apply for the grant for, to do the work that I would need to do to the house?
It's a residential home, it's a single-family home.
It's a single-family home.
We'll have to look at it, but everything has to be in allowable use under the city's land regulations. So, it's up to the city to give you that, if you can convert something into a business or not us. Again, we're only a funding source.
Right. And I did check on that. I checked with the city a couple of weeks ago, and they said the only thing I would need was your BTR.
Business tax receipt, so if it's a single-family home within a single-family neighborhood, then it's probably not gonna qualify.
Okay.
But we can still talk to you and see and actually vet it more.
Okay.
Thank you. Is there anything else on? Okay, awesome, thank you. Moving on to the next item, old business. Is there anything? Okay, nope. Next item is director's report.
I hope you found this first meeting educational. We originally were thinking, oh, we gotta give them all this and that, and we would have really overwhelmed you. And even then, we didn't go into the details of a lot of stuff. Just Julia for now is your liaison, but we're all open for phone calls if you want to have meetings, one-on-ones here and there. To explain things, we're here for you. This is your CAC. Again, protect yourselves. Other communities have been fined the individual committee members. It's because you're operating under the Florida ethics laws and sunshine laws, and you can find if someone decides to go there, go make complaints on you and stuff, so you can get a $500 fine or $5,000 or something. But yeah, it happens. I came from Tampa, and those complaints, they're throwing around now stuff because of people trying to get back with somebody. I saw them over there talking about business, and people are people. Just protect yourselves, and we're here for you.
All right.
All right, thank you. Board members to be heard, anything?
I had a question.
Oh.
Go ahead, ma'am.
You can go first.
Thank you. So our next meeting's coming up in October, soon. Is there something that the board members, the committee members should be doing or looking at, or are we going to have an agenda coming up to? I know it's a short time.
We'll send you out information, and we'll give you more heads up on potential items.
Okay.
I know that public art is going to, there's line items we have funding for public art too, so we'll be looking for the CAC's input on certain public art.
Okay.
And ballpark, do we know how far in advance we will receive that notification as far as possible agenda items or things to prepare for? Will that be like a week before the meeting? Or?
I'll personally make sure this stuff is not sending you stuff. Sometimes we might have to, like it's just because.
Last minute, yeah.
But as far as if you need a lot of time to review something, we'll make sure to get it to you
Okay.
more than 7 days before the meeting.
Okay.
Sometimes we just want to give you FYI, so it's not really part of your agenda, but.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. Anything else? You got a
I do,
question?
and if you want to go down the line, or you want me to go next? Kim,
for
did
it.
you have something? No, okay. So I wanted to start and say thank you all. Thank you for this orientation. Thank you, Ann, for coming and doing the one-on-one with each one of us. That really helped to prepare for this day. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you, Julia. Thank you all, the staff. This is a lot of work that you all put into this, and I have been on this journey since the commencement of the pursuit of the CRA, and I am excited, and I'm excited to work with you all as we move forward and really work to achieve our mission or our vision, which is to see this community revitalized, redeveloped by 2030. So that might be a little over, however, I think with hope we can do anything. So, and the work that goes into that. So thank you for that. Other than that, I wanted to say that we're going to talk about the October meeting, when that is, and the email addresses. When do you need that by?
As soon as possible.
Okay, gotcha. That was it. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you. Thank you all.
Anything? Good?
Good.
Awesome. All right, so need a motion to adjourn? No?
Chair, you adjourn the meeting.
Meeting adjourned at 4:35.
All right.
Okay. Got it, thank you.